Hello Bianca, thank you very much for taking the time. We have a few questions regarding your media career. Is that right?
Yes.
What is your current job and what does it imply?
Okay, well, I have a number of different positions that I hold. At the moment, I'm a senior lecturer in digital journalism. I'm also acting course director for the journalism course here at Coventry University. But in addition to that, I also work as a freelance journalist in a variety of different fields. In terms of my teaching, it involves teaching a range of different students from first year through to masters in fields from media studies through to journalism practice, and particularly around digital and interactive journalism. Being course director entails doing a lot of the administrative stuff and dealing with any student issues and ensuring that the course team functions well and that the course itself is really well. And being a freelance journalist means, well, whatever the editor says it means, depending on that particular day. So it might be writing articles, it could be doing a podcast, it depends on the particular needs.
That sounds interesting. Is this the job that you were originally chasing after, or did your options change on the way, or your jobs actually?
Well, to be honest, I didn't want to go into teaching. That's a strange thing to say. My mother and my grandmother were both teachers, and I always said I wasn't going to go into teaching. And my husband and my mother always said, you're going to go into teaching. And it kind of happened sort of by accident. I started doing some student assistant work at the university where I was studying, and actually found, oh, this is not too bad. So I did a little bit more, and then they needed somebody who had experience in journalism, and they asked me if I'd like to do some teaching, and I did that on a contract basis for a while, and then eventually moved my way up through the ranks. But I never gave up my journalism, because that, for me, since I was 7 years old, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write. I loved writing. I still love writing. I have to get up in the morning and I have to know that I have the opportunity to write something. And so I juggle. Full-time job here, but I do a lot of my freelancing in the evenings and over the weekends, and it's my choice to do it because I love it so much. So yes, I suppose it's not what I initially imagined. I thought I would be working in a newspaper, and I've done that kind of stuff, but I love the teaching and I love being able to do both, because I haven't decided what I want to be when I grow up yet. Sometimes.
It's not so late.
No?
How did you end up choosing these particular jobs?
Well, with journalism, it kind of chose me. So from as far back as I can remember, I always loved words, I love language. I grew up in a household where reading was a huge part of our lives. My mother read to me, my grandmother read to me, they would tell me stories. So that kind of storytelling was really part of my whole experience of being a child and growing up in that household. And so I really do remember at 7-year-old me thinking, I want to be a writer. I didn't quite know what that meant. And as I got older, it kind of evolved into journalism. And so my family couldn't afford to send me to a journalism school, a university that had journalism as an option. So I did a bachelor's of arts in English and French, which is not really related to journalism. But it taught me a lot of really interesting skills, and I decided that if I was going to do this degree that I really did enjoy and that I loved, but that wasn't directly related to what I was going to do, I was going to get some experience doing what I loved. And I was very fortunate because my father was a computer programmer, so we had the internet before the internet had pictures or sound. It was just text. And so I used that as the basis for finding out about what does a journalist do, how do you get involved in that, and I started freelancing. And I did everything wrong, because that's how you learn. But somehow I managed to get a regular position, and I wrote a column called Surf's Up for a magazine called Personality that doesn't exist anymore, which was a national South African weekly publication that focused on, it was kind of a general interest, sort of a family publication, so they had a section for kids and they had a motoring section, general interest kind of family thing. And they wanted someone to write about the internet, and I always loved technology. Sounds like a good fit to me, and so that was
internet from the beginning.
From the very beginning, yeah. I mean, some of my first features that I wrote were how to use email, what is a DVD. Technology was always something that I was really interested in, and that's kind of it evolved from there, and I started breaking into other markets. So no matter what I was doing, whether I was studying or working, I've always written from the age of 16, because I went to university at 16.
Did you need to take different internships and placements in order to get you started with your career in media?
To be honest, no. It took a lot of cockiness and a little bit of, kind of just thinking I could do it and then going out and doing it. So I didn't have any training when I started, but I was lucky that my first editor was really good at training people. So, he would send things back and say, let's work on these parts. And from that, I learned what to do and how to do it. So it was really on-the-job training more than anything else. I'm one of the few, I suppose, who's never worked for free. I don't believe in it. I just don't. But that's just, that's me. For me, I'm providing a service. I have something to offer. You wouldn't ask your plumber or your electrician to work for free, so why would you ask a writer or a journalist to do so? And so I was fortunate. My very first job was a paying job. It didn't pay much, but it paid something. And I just worked my way up from there. I only formally started studying journalism as an academic discipline at master's level, and I did a master's in science and technology journalism at Stellenbosch University.
Do you think it is useful trying different things in deciding what media department is suitable for someone?
I do, and I say this as somebody who's also worked in public relations. Yes, I've done a little bit. The reason for that is I think that it can firstly make you better at what your primary focus is, and secondly it can help you to determine where you actually fit. So when I worked in public relations, I did a lot of the things that I did as a journalist, but just from the other side, I suppose from the corporation side. There was a lot of writing, there was a lot of pitching, there was presenting, there was interviewing people, there was doing all of these things that I did as a journalist, but I just did it for particular clients that needed assistance with certain things. And I realized that the skills are actually transferable. So if you're trained to be a journalist, or you're trained to be a PR, or you're trained to be a film producer, you can use a lot of the same skills across those range of disciplines. So my primary career has been print journalism. I've moved into digital, and part of that has meant starting to learn how to be a broadcast journalist. I don't say I am a broadcast journalist, but starting to learn. So things like I've hosted a webinar online. Actually, I've hosted two. I've been involved in a podcast series which I've presented and produced and distributed online, and that's using some of the skills I've learned as a print journalist, but then also developing new skills. New skills are around how to present, how to get the right kind of information in a short period of time, whereas with print, if you're interviewing someone, if you don't get what you want, you just keep going back until you get it. When you're filming somebody or you're recording somebody, it's a bit different. You want to get to the point and you want to get that meaty information as soon as possible. So yes, I think it's a good thing. I think it's also good because creative people tend to get bored easily, so we want to know what it's like in different professions, and we want to stretch our creative muscles in different ways, and I think moving across different fields does that.
So do you think in terms of the transferable skills that it is good trying different things even though you're not necessarily that interested in them?
You'd be surprised what you're interested in once you give it a try. I mean, as I said, I didn't want to go into teaching, and gave it a shot, and actually went, these students are quite nice, I think I'll keep them. So I did. And it's the same thing with broadcast. It was never something that interested me. It was never something that I felt I could do or that I would be good at. I've realized as I'm developing these skills, actually I'm growing. It's making my print better because it's allowing me to hone my interview techniques further. And I think, it's so easy for us to fall for that idea, well, you have to be completely passionate about something when you start. Actually, you could learn to love something, and you can discover something you never knew you were interested in if you just try it. So it's the same thing when students come in here, and they might have one very particular idea of where they want to be, and then they get exposed to other things, and suddenly they think, oh, maybe I should do that. And they go out with a completely different idea of what they want to do. I also think what's important in this day and age is you need to be able to work across a range of different fields. And the reason for that is employers are looking for multi-skilled individuals. So if I were starting out now and I just had print skills, I would find it more difficult to get a job than if I was starting out now with a mix of understanding video, audio, print, understanding how to present, understanding how to put together an event, whatever it is. Those skills altogether, how to use social media, certainly how to use digital, understanding that environment. You need to have all of that because that's what employers are looking for. So yes, specialization is good, but at the same time you need to be able to do a range of things. And that the same holds true for the topic that you want to do. So for example, for me, I'm primarily a business and technology journalist, but I've written for Cosmopolitan. That's neither a business nor technology publication. I've written for travel publications. I've traveled all around the world, and that's because the skills I have allow me to report on any kind of topic, and I feel comfortable being able to report on anything. If you give me something I've never ever been exposed to, I have the skills to research it, understand it to a level where I can explain it to other people and put together something that hopefully is good enough to be published.
That sounds great. Given the endless career choices in the media field, plenty of media undergraduates struggle with deciding what they want to do in the future. Do you have any advice for them?
I do think get your feet wet in as many different fields as possible so that you can see where your strengths lie. Know yourself. Some of us might want to be big music stars, but we can't sing to save our lives. And, we've got to be honest about that. It's not going to happen. We've got to be realistic about what we can do. So if you know that writing's not your strength, look at other areas. Look at what you can do in presenting. Look at what you can do in film production, in designing a story. At the end of the day, everything that we do in media is about telling stories, whether we're telling brand stories, or whether we're telling journalistic stories, whether we're telling fiction stories, our own stories. It's all about stories. So, look at different ways to do it and get as much experience as you can. I would strongly suggest that even while you're at university, you get as much practical experience as you can. So that means not only the modules where you get a work placement and you have to do it and everybody moans about it and all of that kind of thing, but also doing things outside of that. So I never had the opportunity to do any work placements as part of my degree, but I wrote a lot while I was at university. And what that meant is when I left, I had a whole portfolio of clips that were published in a variety of different publications, both locally and internationally. And it positioned me much better in the job market to be able to go out and say, actually, I don't just have a degree, I can do this thing, whatever it is. So that's what I would suggest. Get as much experience as possible. Don't think you're going to fall in love with the first thing that you do, and keep at it. If it's hard, if you're not getting placements, if you're not getting freelance jobs, rejection is part of the game. In freelancing, if you send out 100 query letters, which are pitches to editors, and you get 10 responses, 2 are positive, you're doing well. That's that's a 2% response rate that's positive. And so you've got to get used to the other 90, 98 rejections that you're going to get, or silence that you're going to get. If you give up after the first no, you're not going to get very far. You've got to have a thick skin. You've got to be a little bit cocky, and you've got to know where your skills are.
Yeah, thank you very much.